Hello, welcome back to Meditation Learning. In this episode, I want to share the breakdown of this geometry node setup. And while doing so, I will also teach you this character. So at the moment, you probably don't really understand what's the meaning of the strokes, right? But it doesn't matter. I'll explain the whole thing. So this is originally just a curve, right? I really like just working with curve because you can draw with curve, and you can also make a character like this that currently doesn't really make sense, but I'll explain it soon. So the setup is like this, and you can see at the moment it's like a kind of like a liquid passing through my curve stroke, and it's writing something that you probably don't understand. You might already know what I'm writing if you understand Chinese or Japanese. So let me go to the last part here, and I will make it like this. It's probably easier to read. There you go. So you have this kind of like a blood that's flowing through the strokes, right? And then you can also see how the strokes kind of written. It needs to be in the right order in order for this to make sense. I think I did the last part. Yeah, the last part is slightly wrong, but I think it's okay. It means three body. Yeah, three body, or sun T. Okay, I think that's based on a recent movie. It's based on a novel that's adapted into a movie, into Netflix. Three body. Okay, the problem with three body. So this writing is just a curve, right? So I can go to edit mode with tab, and then you know, I can rewrite the same thing. So while I'm learning geometry nodes, but also I'm learning kanji and Chinese writing, right? So pretty cool. So let's delete that part. Let's take a look at this. So I have two parts of this: the flowing blood, and the second one is just the strokes then that being multiplied. So there are two parts. I can switch between them, but I just merge into one. So I can do the switch this way. So, but I just join the geometry using two different material. The the setup itself, it's pretty simple actually. You might already know. So the curve comes into geometry nodes, and here I'm using duplicate elements. I actually can just keep it a single stroke. Okay, it's much simpler, single stroke. But here I can duplicate the spline, so I have multiple spline, and then I resample the spline. It's gonna change the effects of the blood flowing, I think. Or it's actually, if the resample curve length also too short, it's become like a uncooked spaghetti, right? This is actually it's really funny Chinese writing if you do it this way, like a spaghetti, like a stick. But it still kind of work. It's like spaghetti and pasta. I kind of like this aesthetics, There's no curve whatsoever. So yeah, you can duplicate elements, right? You get like these spaghetti lines. Keep it simple for now. Resample curve. Set the spline type to nerves. Yeah, this gonna make it more curvy. You can turn it on and off with M. And then the next thing I did was set position, because I want to wiggle it a little bit. So I want to wiggle this a little bit with noise. I randomize it here, so it's got a different type of spaghetti for each strokes. This is the noise scale, and I normalize this using -5, and I can scale the noise and reduce the noise. It's really simple like that. Okay, so the next thing, so after I wiggle the strokes, right, I how do I explain the flowing tomato sauce here, the flowing blood? That's actually really simple. Again, I'm using curve, this sample curve node. You have seen me using this before, right? I'm operating this on every curve. I can turn this off. If I turn this off, it will only operate on the single stroke. Okay. As you can see, we have more strokes because we duplicate the curve. So we need to, check the curve index or just enable all curve. So it's gonna operate on all curves, and we're gonna sample each and every curve, sample its positions and the factor. Okay, the factor will go from 0 to 1, 0 being the first points in the stroke, 1 being the last points in the strokes. So it's really simple, but as I'm operating it on all curve at the same time, like in parallel, and I'm using time and I'm using fractions, so it's gonna magically loop on every strokes. If I even just sitting down like this and looking at this, you can actually see every stroke. If you're learning kanji or Chinese Mandarin character writing, you need to do it in order like this, and you just learn how to write santi. This is san, this is tree, this is ti, body. Okay, so we learned that, it's a bonus. So anyway, let's get back to this guy. So what's going on here? Our focus is actually these points right here. If I reduce these points, we're gonna have just like a few dots that's traveling on every stroke, and it's gonna do it in a loop because remember we are using time and fraction, and I can make the time go slower or faster from here. I think I'm multiplying the time. It's gonna go each strokes multiple times, right? Just to iterate it. And here I'm using add because I want to kind of randomize the time a little bit. So we have multiple times, like multiverse. We have multiple time happening at the same time. And then I can multiply more here. This one actually like a second effect. This one make it goes faster as well. So this one and this one work together. Anyhow, the result is the fraction that goes into this factor sample curve, and we are using the positions to set the position of our points. So how many points we can have? We can have as many as we want. The more points, the more tomato sauce or whatever particles coming through this line, right? But you can see the stroke. It's all about repeating, right? Repeating the same order of stroke multiple times, and then that's how you learn kanji. There's no easy way. You're kind of memorizing, but you also understand the stroke. Supposedly, the more you know the character, like 1,000 or 10,000, you get into like, wow, special level, because you can suddenly read a newspaper or something. Okay, so I can instance objects like icosphere into the points. Let's say if I do that, there I just get icosphere along the path. But instead of doing that, I'm using points. So I'm just using the points instead of instancing. I'm using points to volume, volume to mass. You know this technique. I've done this like many times. just plug this into the set material. Okay, so spaghetti. Now we have our tomato sauce bag. So this tomato sauce may be darker color. And I could add some surface so it's, or just okay, just leave it like that. It looks a little bit like pasta and spaghetti sauce. And we are still writing three body, right? It's got a lot of meaning, right? What I'm trying to explain here is pretty random, a lot of things at the same time. But you learn how to write this character now, and you learn a little bit of geometry nodes. It's pretty cool. So this one is randomizing the radius, so we can control the radius, the minimum size of the radius and the largest size, and we can randomize the seed, the volume, voxel amount, keep it 100, adaptivity. Yeah, you can play around with that kind of thing. It's very simple and basic. I have explained this many times. I'm just gonna explain it again because it's every time I do this video I can explain it a little bit better. That's the main point. Okay, this is three body in a pasta shapes. And if you want to write this, you know, like a Nihongo, instead of three body, for example, I can just duplicate this, right? Delete everything. I can just draw something like, okay, this is like a sun, and this is a book or a tree? I don't know. I'm still learning. This one means Nihongo, right? Japanese language. You can tell people, I know Japanese. I know Japanese. Yeah. So in pasta shapes, we have learned to make this. I like this pasta shapes, but we can always resample this. You know, making it more like a stick. I don't know. It could be. If we change the color, also it changes the meaning, because colors can be anything. Colors can change the meaning. Bizarrely enough. And this color, I don't know, make it pink or crazy glowing thing. So I'm also I can kind of do this, making this Eevee and blooming. Emission green. Okay, suddenly we have something else. So yeah, we start with a few, let me summarize this. We start with a few strokes. It's making, originally we don't understand at all, right? So we don't understand anything at all. Now it's becoming this thing, kind of like a flowing things, strokes that keep looping and repeating. We actually learn a couple of characters suddenly. This is this is Nihongo, Nihon Japanese language. This is Go, this character. This is Santi. This is actually Mandarin. And yeah, Santi. If you repeat Santi 3 times, Om Santi Santi Santi, that means peace. How do you know? How do I know? I Googled it the other day. But I heard that many times before. I don't know the meaning, but you know, now we understand. It's really weird, right? It's really weird. Now, the stick itself, okay, if you might notice the stick itself actually have different radius. That's because I'm using this setup. Curve info with a curve ID goes into the random value. So I actually have full control of this. So the stick or the cables, right? The cables can actually have different color as well. I didn't do that, but don't worry about that. Because if I didn't use this ID thing, we actually have random stroke that's more like a brush, you know, like if the brush is really bad, you start to, the curve starting to look like this. Anyway, that's besides the point. But the order, the stroke order matters. Sometimes like if I'm drawing the snail thing, this is my logo. Yeah, it's gonna happen in order, and it's gonna loop indefinitely, infinitely, until you understand the stroke order, the characters. Anyhow, that's the basically the whole setup. It's pretty easy to understand, right? Curve strokes. What's probably missing? If you want this to be like a real animated thing, the stroke itself could be bind into a bone, and the bone can be animated. So you can create a character based on this. Remember when you were little, you used to draw things like this. It's not an art. It's actually an art. Who knows? Like a character dancing, which is just like a stick figure. It's not an art, but if this thing currently is a curve, but in the future Blender is gonna be a grease pencil. It's gonna be, because it's grease pencil, it can be animated as well. It can have different layer, so that's gonna be really cool. And if we can, if you want to bind the curve into bone and animate the bones, that's gonna have more, more meaning to it, because you can animate the character. But for now, it's just a simple stroke, and the strokes becoming this multiple cables thing, and multiple cables with the flowing through to help us to learn Japanese character, kanji, or Chinese character. Yeah, each strokes has meaning. So you gotta follow the stroke and do it multiple times. I'm pretty sure after you watch this, you actually understand what's going on. You understand and you remember each and every stroke. I'm pretty sure on that. We can make this stroke faster. If you want to simplify the whole thing, we can always reduce the number of cables, reduce it to 1. And use the curve ID plug into there. We don't need to randomize the size, but we can have it like this. This is the stroke. 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So strokes order is understood, and the flow, based on the flow of this energy. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I can continue talking for 1 hour, and try to make this more meaningful, but you understand at least 10 different things, at least 3, three different meaning of this. So the strokes become multiple cables, and multiple cables with the force that's running through it. So yeah, pretty cool. I think it could be better. So if you really, this was inspired by this flute painter. I haven't purchased it, but I might actually purchase this. I like this idea, like the flowing things on a objects. It's something called flute painter. This is an add-on by Blender artist and developer Mickey 3D. Yeah. Okay, you can purchase this. You can basically use a stroke just to paint over a geometry, and you can have this flowing flutes. Very, very cool. I like this. This was the inspirations. I haven't purchased it. I didn't look at the Node 3, but I tried to replicate that. Maybe my setup is much simpler. This is the one that I can understand, I think, but this setup is much more robust, and you also have different shaders, I think. So it's really powerful, and it's only $790, so it's pretty cool. I'll probably purchase this. That's the inspiration for this setup that I could understand and make myself. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you find this useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.